Do you know the real reason she's pulling away? You didn't cheat. You didn't stop loving her. You've been loyal. You've worked hard. You've stood by her side for years. And yet, something feels different now. She doesn't smile at you like she used to. She pulls away when you try to hold her. Conversations are shorter. Intimacy? It feels like a distant memory. And you start wondering, is it my age? My body? Maybe we've just been together too long. You're not alone. Most men over 50 ask themselves these same questions. But here's the truth. What's really driving her away has nothing to do with your looks, your performance, or how many years you've been together. It's something deeper, quieter. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it completely until it's too late. She still loves you. She still wants to feel close, but something inside her has shifted. Something emotional. And once that emotional connection weakens, no amount of romance or effort can bring back the spark, unless you understand what's really going on. This simple but powerful truth is what 80% of men never realize. And it's the reason so many relationships lose their fire with age. But there's good news. You can bring her back, closer than ever before. And it starts with one shift, one secret most men never hear. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I'm about to share could completely transform how you see love, intimacy, and connection, and reignite the bond you thought was fading for good. She still loves you, but doesn't want to be close. Why? Here's something many men over 50 quietly wrestle with. She says she loves me, but why does she feel so distant? The natural assumption? It must be age, hormones. Maybe the spark just fades after decades together. And sure, time does change our bodies, but that's not what really causes the distance. The real reason she pulls away isn't physical, it's emotional. You see, women don't lose interest in intimacy because they've stopped loving you. They lose the desire for closeness when the emotional bond weakens. And this shift happens slowly, quietly, often without words. At first, it's little things. She becomes less affectionate. Her eyes don't light up when you walk in. She stops initiating physical contact. And you're left wondering what you did wrong, when in truth, it's what's been missing. Let me give you a real example. A man in his late 60s once shared, "My wife and I barely touch anymore. We used to be so close. I thought maybe she wasn't interested in sex anymore. But when he asked her how she was feeling, she opened up. It's not that I don't want to be close. I just don't feel connected to you anymore." That's the heart of it. For a woman, emotional safety is the foundation of desire. She needs to feel seen, valued, and emotionally close before she can feel physically close. Without that, even the most loving gestures can feel hollow. Men often view intimacy as the way to feel emotionally connected. For women, it's the result of already feeling emotionally connected. Think about that difference. You might reach for her to feel close, but she needs to feel close to want you to reach for her. When that emotional connection fades, when she feels taken for granted, unheard, or invisible, her desire fades with it. Not because she loves you less, but because her heart doesn't feel safe anymore. And unless that connection is rebuilt, physical intimacy becomes rare, strained, or even unwanted. But here's the good news. That bond can be reignited. And once it is, her natural desire for closeness returns, not because she has to, but because she genuinely wants to. So now the question becomes, how do you rebuild that emotional connection? Let's talk about that next. What happens when you stop making her feel special? Think back to the beginning of your relationship. Remember how you used to look at her? How you'd go out of your way to surprise her, listen to every word she said, and make her feel like the most important woman in the world? In those early days, you probably did things without even thinking. Holding her hand in public, complimenting her smile, leaving little notes, calling just to hear her voice. Those small actions weren't grand, but they made her feel seen, wanted, and cherished. But over time, something changed. Not because you stopped loving her, but because life happened. Work, responsibilities, routine. You started assuming she already knew how much you loved her. So the compliments faded, the affection slowed, the conversations grew shorter. And without even realizing it, you stopped showing her that she still mattered just as much as before. One man told me, "We've been married 30 years. I thought we were fine." But then one night, she told me she felt invisible, like a roommate, not a wife. He was heartbroken. He had no idea she'd been carrying that pain for so long. Here's what many men miss. Women don't fall out of love overnight. They disconnect little by little when they no longer feel emotionally valued. You may still love her deeply, but if she doesn't feel emotionally seen, her heart slowly shuts down. She might not say it out loud, but she feels it. And once she stops feeling special, the desire for intimacy fades right along with it, because for women, emotional presence is everything. A woman will give her body fully when her heart feels held. But if she starts to feel like she's taken for granted, like she's just there, the spark dies, not out of choice, but out of quiet sadness. This is the silent mistake so many men make, believing that love, once established, doesn't need to be actively nurtured. But love isn't maintenance-free. It's a garden that needs tending. And here's the truth. The moment you stop showing up emotionally, she starts retreating, slowly, quietly, and sometimes permanently. But just as this distance grew little by little, it can be healed the same way. Up next, I'll show you how. Touch her heart before you touch her body. So how do you rebuild the emotional connection that brings intimacy back into your relationship? It doesn't require grand gestures. It doesn't need fancy vacations or expensive gifts. It starts with 3 simple, powerful actions that speak directly to her heart. Because when she feels emotionally connected, she'll naturally want to be physically close. Let's break it down. 1. Speak to her from the heart. Words are powerful, but not just any words. A woman wants to feel seen, not just heard. Instead of generic compliments like, "You look nice," try something more personal. "Your laugh still makes me smile like it did the day I met you." Or instead of "Thanks for dinner," say, "The way you take care of us, even in the little things, reminds me how lucky I am to have you." These aren't lines. They're observations that come from a place of love and presence. When she hears that you notice her essence, not just her actions, it awakens something deep inside her. Women crave emotional depth. They want to feel like you get them, not just physically, but emotionally. And your words are the bridge to that connection. 2. Touch without expecting anything in return. One of the most overlooked emotional needs in long-term relationships is non-sexual touch. Too often, physical affection becomes a transaction. You kiss her, hug her, or hold her because you're hoping it leads somewhere else. And over time, she feels that. She can sense the expectation behind the gesture. But when you touch her without wanting anything more, just to say, "I'm here, I love you," it disarms her. It makes her feel safe, valued, and adored. Try this. Gently place your hand on her back as you pass by. Hold her hand while watching a movie. Kiss her forehead in the morning. Hug her for a few extra seconds without turning it into more. These small touches say, "I love you as you are. I want to be near you, not because I expect something, but because being close to you matters to me."
That's the kind of affection that rebuilds trust and opens the door to deeper intimacy. 3. Show up in the small moments consistently. Women don't fall in love with the grand gesture once a year. They fall in love with the man who shows he cares every single day. It's the way you bring her coffee before she asks, the way you check in when she seems quiet, the way you remember what she told you 2 weeks ago and bring it up because it mattered to her. These aren't big things, but they tell her, I see you, I value you, I'm still choosing you. Consistency builds emotional safety, and when a woman feels emotionally safe, her heart and her body will naturally open up. Remember, connection isn't built in big romantic getaways. It's built in the way you live with her day after day. The tone of your voice when you ask how her day was. The way you listen when she talks. The small acts of kindness that remind her she matters. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. These 3 actions, genuine words, non-goal-driven touch, and consistent small gestures are the keys to emotional reconnection. And when you get the emotional part right, physical intimacy becomes effortless, not forced, not distant, but warm, natural, and deeply fulfilling. So the next time you want to get close, don't start with your hands. Start with your heart, because when she feels emotionally safe, she'll want to be close to you, body, mind, and soul. Up next, the timeless relationship wisdom from a 92-year-old woman that ties this all together.
One thing changes everything. Timeless wisdom from a 92-year-old woman. Years ago, I had a quiet conversation with a 92-year-old woman, sharp, graceful, and full of life. She had been married for over 60 years before her husband passed, and I asked her, "What's the secret to keeping love and passion alive for that long?" She didn't hesitate. She said, "A woman gives her body fully only when she feels 2 things, safe and chosen." Let that sink in for a moment. Not excited, not impressed, not flattered, safe and chosen. It's so simple, yet it holds the answer that many men spend a lifetime trying to figure out. She went on to explain, if a woman doesn't feel emotionally protected, if she doesn't feel like she's still your number one, she'll pull away. Not because she doesn't love you, but because her heart doesn't feel secure. That's what most men miss. They focus on physical things, buying gifts, dressing better, trying to perform more impressively, thinking that will draw her closer. But love, for a woman, starts in a different place. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's about trust. When a woman feels emotionally safe, when she knows she's still chosen every day, not out of habit, but out of desire, her guard drops, her heart opens, and from there, intimacy follows naturally. She doesn't need grand displays. She doesn't crave perfection. She craves presence. She wants to know you're still here, still seeing her, still wanting her, not just for what she does, but for who she is. That elderly woman wasn't talking about magic. She was talking about consistency. She said, "My husband made me feel like I was the only woman in the world, even when we were both old, wrinkled, and gray. That's why I never stopped wanting to be close to him." So if you want lasting love, real intimacy that lasts decades, start by making her feel emotionally secure. Make her feel chosen, because when she feels that way, she'll never stop choosing you. Don't wait until she leaves to learn how to listen. Most men hear their partner's words, but few truly listen. And when a woman starts pulling away, it's rarely because of one big argument or dramatic event. It's usually because, over time, she felt unheard, unseen, emotionally alone. One of the most powerful ways to bring her back isn't through fixing problems or offering solutions. It's through presence, through listening, not with your ears, but with your heart. Let me tell you a story. Mark had been married for 28 years. One night, he sat in the car outside his house, terrified. He thought his marriage was over. His wife barely spoke to him. They hadn't been intimate in months. He was trying everything, flowers, vacations, compliments, but nothing worked. So instead of doing more, he did something different. He sat beside her one evening and simply said, "I want to understand. I know I've been missing something. Can we talk? I'll just listen." At first, she hesitated, but then she spoke. She told him how alone she'd felt, how for years she carried silent hurts, how she no longer felt like she mattered. Mark didn't defend himself. He didn't interrupt. He didn't try to fix anything. He just listened. And for the first time in years, she felt safe enough to open her heart again. That night didn't solve everything, but it opened the door, because emotional reconnection begins where judgment ends. When a woman feels like she can speak without being fixed, criticized, or brushed off, something powerful happens. Her guard softens. Her desire awakens. Her trust returns. Listening is not weakness. It's strength in its purest form. So if you want to rebuild that bond, start here. Sit down. Ask, "How are you feeling lately?" Then be quiet. Just be there. You'll be amazed at how deeply a woman can love when she feels heard again. Because sometimes the most romantic thing a man can do is simply listen with his full heart.
Love in midlife can still burn bright if you do this. Here's the truth most men over 50 need to hear. It's not about how you look. It's not about your performance. It's not even about how long you've been together. It's about how you make her feel. If she feels emotionally safe, seen, and cherished, she will want to be close. Not out of habit, not out of obligation, but from a deep place of love and desire. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You just need to reconnect. So here's what I want you to do today. Find a quiet moment, look her in the eyes, and tell her something you genuinely appreciate about her. Not her cooking, not her errands, her. Her kindness, her strength, her patience, her smile. Say it from the heart. That one moment of honesty could be the spark that starts the fire again. And now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you can do today to make her feel truly loved? Comment below. I read every single one. Your stories matter. Your effort matters. And if this message touched you, if it made you think differently about love, connection, or what your relationship could be, then please follow for more. This is just the beginning. Click subscribe and join our community here at Smart Advice 50, where we talk real love, real life, and real solutions for relationships after 50. You're never too old to grow, to connect, and to love deeper than ever before. Let's keep this journey going, together.